Well, in the wake of the Sri Lankan president fleeing from Sri Lanka, the Indian High Commission has categorically denied baseless and speculative media reports that India facilitated the recent reported travel of Gotabaya Rajapaksa out of Sri Lanka. It is reiterated that India will continue to support the people of Sri Lanka. Now, this is a tweet that's coming in. Abhishek Kapoor, a senior executive editor, on the phone line with me. Morning, Abhishek. Abhishek, the Indian government and the Indian High Commission over there categorically denying any rumors that India would have helped him. In fact, we do know that he fled in an Antov 32 that belonged to the Sri Lankan Navy to Malay.
Well, yes, Nupur, in fact, the Sri Lankan Defence Forces have taken ownership of the movement of the Rajapaksas out of Sri Lanka to Maldives, given the threat that was around their lives, because a great number of people in Sri Lanka believe that the mess they are in as a nation and the economic crisis they are going through is in good measure because the Rajapaksas really ruled the roost, the entire clan, the entire family, be it Gotabaya, who was president, or Mahinda, who was prime minister, or Namal, the son of Mahinda, then Chamal, the brother of Chamal, and Vesel, the brothers, along with Gotabaya and Mahinda. Essentially, the entire family and clan having one department or the other at one point in time, almost 70% of the entire nation's budget in the control of this family. So obviously, there was discontent, angst. We have seen how the protesters have put to fire the private residence of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. So the defense forces realized that they cannot take chances, and that's why they have moved. There is no role whatsoever of any other country or nation, particularly India. In fact, I have just shared, Nupur, the statement that has been released by the Sri Lankan Air Force, taking full responsibility of the move in which the Air Force aircraft was used to transport Rajapaksas out of Sri Lanka into Maldives.
Absolutely. Now, Abhishek, would we be expecting him to resign today? Because one would assume that he wanted to leave the country before he put in his resignation, because till he's president, he does enjoy some constitutional immunity from prosecution.
Well, you see, he has already resigned. Nupur, it would be officially announced by the speaker today, we are told. He quit and he has escaped, and the Rajapaksas, many of them have escaped from the country. Whether that suffices so far as legal scrutiny and whatever process the next Sri Lankan government might initiate in terms of fixing responsibility, we as yet don't know, because the situation is very fluid, Nupur. It is believed that as per the constitution, the immediate vacancy is filled by the sitting prime minister when the president leaves, and then the parliament has to elect a next president under Article 40 of the constitution from within themselves. Sri Lanka follows a presidential form of government. So that we are told that Parliament will meet on 15th, accept the resignation of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and meet again on 20th to elect a next president, most likely Sajat Premdasa, who is leader of opposition as of now of the SJB party. But as I said, the situation is fluid. The process to fix responsibility is still some time away, because remember, whichever government comes to takes over, in fact, from Ranil Wickremesinghe and Gotabaya Rajapaksa, would have to immediately focus on bringing calm to the island nation, to get the protesters back to their homes and let law and order prevail, so that all those international credit agencies like the IMF or even friendly nations like India, they can resume with the aid process and stabilize the economy first. So I think the focus would be on fixing the economy first and then fixing responsibility. But as of now, of course, India denying any role whatsoever. It is, and in fact, the ownership of the move of Rajapaksas out of Sri Lanka has already been taken by defense forces.
Absolutely, but Abhishek, as you're pointing out, there will be a significant time period when there will be first, a transformation of power to the next government in place, and it's going to be a tough road ahead because at the moment it appears that there's nobody in control, because pictures that our correspondents have been sending us seem to suggest that, people are protesting still, they're out on the streets, they are still at the presidential palace. So that does, in a sense, communicate how bad the situation is.
Situation obviously is really bad, Nupur. Sri Lanka is effectively living hand to mouth. They don't have money to really import the basics like food, fuel, fertilizer, and despite the fact that India has helped to the tune of about $4 billion. In fact, once situation stabilizes, India is more than willing to be of more help in whatever manner we can, as we have done always with our neighbors, with Maldives, with even sending drinking water, for example, to Maldives when a crisis had hit about a couple of years back. So it's not that things cannot be worked around, but then the first responsibility obviously has to be of the leadership of Sri Lanka to stabilize the situation on the law and order front. Even now, it's been 3 days since the protesters have stormed into the presidential palace, and they continue to occupy government buildings, not just the presidential palace, but even the ministries and other departments. So if the government can't function, even if, for example, IMF wants to give a rescue package or a loan, whom should they talk to? So that's a big crisis. Till that time, till the time that the law and order situation is brought back to normal, things can't resume. So obviously, people of Sri Lanka have to come together, not just the government, but the protesters included. That they have to decide that if their destiny is about to crumble, if they don't let these agencies come in with their aid, then obviously, if it is in the best interest of everyone that the protesters go back, law and order prevails, and the government takes over, that is how the thing should move.
Absolutely. As you're pointing out, if that was the end goal to make sure that the Rajapaksas left the country, perhaps that has been achieved, and that's a significant win for the protesters who've been taking to the streets for months now. Thank you very much, Abhishek, for joining us.